What's up guys, it's your girl Riva and I am back again with another video. If you're new to this channel, hi, my name is Riva, it's very nice to meet you. Before we get into this video, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up, and as I always say, make sure you guys leave your comments in the comment section down below. It doesn't matter how you feel about this video, we all want to talk about it. Also, if you're not following me on Instagram, follow my Instagram, it's at RIVAH_JORDON. And again, if you are new to this channel, I do post a video every single day. The time does vary, so you have to hit that notification bell so that you're notified when I do post. Also, I never watch a video before I react to it. I like to give my honest, pure thoughts and opinions right here in front of you guys. So if you're a regular here, you already know. I want to go ahead and just jump right into this video.
Hello?
I did not expect you to answer.
Huh?
Hi, how are you?
You were not expecting me to answer?
No, I wasn't.
Why?
There's 1,000 people in here. I didn't think I'd be the one that you'd answer.
Just started from the top. What do you got for me? Well, why do pretty women, especially over 25, feel like they can have it all? Especially entrepreneurs and professionals. That was the question.
The question. Okay. Honestly, I feel like most of them can have it all. At least if they're intelligent enough and if they play their cards right. If you're pretty, you're professional, you got your shit together, you're intelligent, what can't you not have in this world?
Well, how old are you?
I'm 36.
Okay. 36. What can't you not have? All.
Well, all is also subjective, right?
No, it's not, really. Because, see, what I don't do is I don't do this theoretical thing, like, in theory. Well, in theory, you can jump from the ground to the roof under the right conditions. 36 years old. See, the funny thing is, if you ask a man this question, you ask most men this question, can you have it all? Without a beat, they'll say no. So why is it that men answer the question no, and women say, yeah, you can?
Again, it's the thing that's been implanted in our brains from those, Disney movies, from those romantic comedies, from all of those things that, yes, at the end of the day, you're going to get, knight in shining armor with, that's a prince. So usually that signifies wealth. And he's obviously good looking. And, you are going to live that happily ever after lifestyle that, like I said, has been implanted in our brains since we were literally super young and impressionable. And it's, women definitely take that and feel like that can become their reality. And I wanted to just point on something that she said, where she was like, if they're pretty and they're this and all that, she said all is subjective, but the thing that's really big is that pretty is subjective as well.
Honestly, I can't answer that because I'm not a man, so I don't know why men say this and why women say that. I only know why I say what I say. And I know you were talking about theoretically all, but I think also when I say that all is subjective, what I mean is that when you say, why do women think they can have it all? Technically, when you say all, I'm considering all the things that would personally make me happy.
Okay, well,
right?
Most women want everything. And here's the thing. Let's just say that's the case. But if that held true in reality, then why are women so unhappy? If women can have it all, then why aren't they living that reality?
I think there are some women who are and some women who aren't. I think also
some women. What percentage? I mean, because to say some women, that can mean there's 2 out of 35 out of 3 billion. I'm a very analytical person, so that's kind of blurring and deceptive language. Life is about trade-offs and choices. Trade-offs, compromises, and choices. And in the last 50 years, people began to believe they could have it all. But for the previous recorded history, people understood that you can't. What makes us so different to what women today think you can have it all, and they're not living that reality?
I think also
I'm listening.
We're discussing things from a specific perspective and what society deems as is all for women and men, specifically through the lens of American society, right?
What all? When women say all, generally what they're talking about is they want a man who's financially successful, loyal, good looking, certain height, certain sexual disposition. He's a poet. He's an actor. He's also an undercover spy. And
he's romantic.
Everything else. And no, that's in Disney. You don't get that because you can't have it all. Or it would be no more thing that make no more sense than one person trying to think they can get everything from you.
Well, I also don't believe that you can get everything that you need from one individual. I think that's a fallacy that romanticism has created, that you can be completely satisfied with one person and that person satisfied.
You can't have it all.
No, I don't. Oh, well, from one person. Also, when you say it all, you were speaking about from a romantic part.
Okay, I don't know how. I don't know if you lean more liberal or more conservative. When most people say they want it all, meaning they want the American dream: a big house, marriage, cars, kids, money, trips, travel, an ideal spouse, great sex, great friends, interesting life. You know, the fantasy.
Right.
It's a fantasy for a reason.
I agree with you. I agree that is a fantasy. So that's why I say, like, all is subjective, because for someone who's trying to feed into that specific fantasy, that is actually a fantasy. So if you're describing all as what you're saying, then you can't have it all. That is correct.
Okay. However you define all, you can't have it. Unless all is just you. If all has to do with any other human being, you cannot have it all. Give you a case in point. Halle Berry. For years, arguably one of the most beautiful women on the planet.
Yeah.
Miserable as French toast. Why? This woman right here should be able to have it all, right? Beautiful, acclaimed actress, rich, successful, can't keep her man, and complaining about child support and family court. And the list goes on. Why do modern women even the notion of having it all is, due respect, it's a childish notion. Because kids want it all. Human beings, adults are supposed to realize you can't. You have to make choices.
And it is a childish notion, again, because that's when it was implanted into our brains that we can have it all from childhood. So it is something that is childish. Like, we should realize that that's, as she's saying, yes, you can have it all from different people, correct. But most people want everything, and they're expecting that other person to give them everything, just one person to fulfill everything that they feel like they're missing or that they're needing in their life.
Okay, I understand what you're saying now. I guess when I say women can have it all, what I'm saying is that, and why I say it's also subjective, is when I say that I can have it all, I'm meaning the things that I desire that is going to make me happy, that are not necessarily what the American dream is, or what someone else may deem as something that is necessary for me, or what society will deem as necessary for me. Huh?
Do you have that now?
Do I have that now? No, I don't have that now. I'm working towards those things now.
Do you want to be married ever?
I'm not sure if marriage is for me or not yet.
You want kids?
I'm not sure if children is for me or not yet. I think for me, if I meet someone that I fall in love with and we both decide that we want to get married, then I'll get married. But is it the end all be all if I don't ever get married? Not necessarily.
Hold on. Marriage is one thing, but kids, there's a yet component. There's a time component.
There is a time component.
So if you decide that you don't want it now, but you meet Prince Charming and you are so inclined to want to reproduce and you're 45, can you still have them?
I can have my own children. I can adopt. I can surrogate if I decide to raise my eggs. There is a compromise, specifically, yes. If I decide at that age to then have children, as I am approaching that age, that would be a decision.
Most of the women that come to my show are wanting relationship, i.e. marriage, children, suburban kind of lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's what most women want. So as the typical woman that comes to my show, they're not saying whether or not I want to be married. They want to be married.
Right.
They want kids. They want to not have to work to pay significant bills after they're pregnant. They want a man who's earning a certain amount of income to facilitate a certain kind of lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
But are they fit for that? The kind of men they want, what do they want from women? And do those women fit the bill? See, if you watch my show, if you go back and watch for 9 months, I hold interviews and talk night after night after night, and consistently, 99.99999% of women tend to want the same thing, but they're not getting it.
Right.
Yes. I think personally, and this is personally for me, I think that a lot of the things that women want, they don't realize that it may not be necessarily that they particularly want that, or those things are going to fulfill them in the way that they perceive it to fulfill them. And they desperately want these things to fulfill a void that they themselves have not filled. So that's what I personally feel. That's why I say, I don't know if marriage is for me yet, and I don't know if children is for me yet until I find an individual that I would want to have children with, or that I would want to get married with. If we were to get to that point, I can make that decision. But if I were to take marriage and children and then decide that these are the things that I need in order to have happiness in life, and then if that I never fulfill those things, then I'll never be happy. Instead of just seeking happiness in other places. But I find that society puts us such a heavy weight on marriage and children for women.
Society doesn't put heavy weight on. It's our biological imperative. People, we're meant to be on this planet to reproduce.
To reproduce, yes, but not necessarily get married.
Okay, the best way of raising a child. The best way of raising a child is in a 2-parent household for the best potential outcome.
I think that this woman is pretty, and I think that she's very strongly opinionated, and I think that's great. You know, she seems very strong and strongly opinionated. Again, she does seem super liberal and free and all of that, which there's nothing wrong with that. However, in her speaking, a lot of women don't feel the same way that she does. So she can speak and be strong on her behalf, and a lot of women trick themselves to thinking that they feel the same way that this woman does that's on this panel. Well, I don't know yet. And then by the time that they're 40, 42, when they do know what they genuinely really want, because they have their accomplishments, they have their house, they have their this, their that, and they're in the bed and they're lonely, or, they realize that they have no legacy to leave behind, they have no children, then that becomes a huge problem on the latter end.
But a lot of things you said, ma'am, sound very modernist, womanist, feminist notion. That if I choose, that implies that what you're saying implies that you just can go pick a man. A man has to choose you to be a wife. It's not you just falling in love with him. He has to decide if he wants to marry you. We control access to marriage. You control access to sex and birth. We decide that.
I'm not sure if I necessarily agree with that. And it may just be because I am modernist and I am feminist and all these things. I feel like two individuals choose each other. So
and the part of the problem, and if you study any civilization, when they lean towards modernist, feminist, they tend to decline. Because the first thing that falls apart is the fundamental building block of a society, which is family. Mm-hmm. We control access. Who pursues in a relationship? Men or women?
Well, in American society, men do.
Not American society, worldwide.
Men do.
Pretty much, men do. There are certain.
Okay, ma'am. In the animal kingdom, So this is where this feminist stuff starts to fall apart, because you can only be feminist in the first world country.
Mm-hmm.
We've civilized the world in general to where you can have all these flaky notions.
The fact that, she's saying that a man, like basically like, oh, well, a woman can pursue a man too. Oh, well, she can do that, the same thing, because they're equal. That whole kind of like equal mentality comes up. But in actuality, if things are, if a woman is doing the roles that a man is supposed to be doing when it comes to something as early on as the chase, it changes the dynamics of the relationship.
It don't work in a state of nature. Who pursues in a relationship sense? It's men. It doesn't have to be 100% or absolute value. Those are deflections. You know what I'm saying? Men typically pursue in a relationship. We pursue. We ask. You can choose to decline or accept. If you wanted to get married, and if no man wanted to marry you, you can't get married.
That's true. Yes.
Right.
So, what does feminism mean to you?
Feminism.
What's the purpose of? What does it mean to you?
Honestly, I wouldn't even describe myself as a feminist. I use the word because you used it to describe me, and it is. I tend to lean towards those things. So to define feminism for me is irrelevant. But what I will say is that
feminism,
in terms of what I feel, in terms of how I feel I am as a woman, I feel like women and men are both human beings. We just tend to be different genders. We have different essences. We are very much yin and yang in the natural sense. But because we live in a society where we've evolved mentally.
So let me ask you some very simple questions. If Thanos snapped away men, could women on this planet survive to the end of their natural lives? Could they maintain the infrastructure? Could the infrastructure that's in place now, could women maintain the infrastructure to where the majority of women survive to the end of their natural lives?
I feel like if Thanos did like this and all the men disappeared, women would have to then adjust to this new lifestyle.
And they'd be dying.
Women could be able to.
Women would die for the amazing
race. They would adapt. Things may change, but they would adapt.
Listen. You can't. Evolution doesn't happen before nature. You don't have the physical strength to manipulate the environment to the extent that it needs to be. That's why you don't do the jobs. See, if Thanos snapped the women away, we couldn't reproduce, but we could live to the end of our lives naturally because we built the infrastructure. See, this whole notion of men and women being equal is enough. We're not equal. The male and female in any gender, in any species, the male is the larger, the more dominant, for the most part, in mammals. We don't need you. You need us.
I think we need each other.
No, we need each other for reproduction, not survival. I've had this conversation over and over. You put a woman in nature by herself, she will die.
So I think that this woman has a very evolved mindset, and I'm, a person that can appreciate that for sure. But I think there becomes a point when you evolve so much in your mind that you start to live in a different world than the world that actually exists right now. And because there was a lot of conversation about her saying like, oh, we're the same, we're just two human beings, and one is just a male and one is just a female. But that makes a huge difference, right? Like that makes a huge difference. A man has, both human beings have both masculine and feminine energy in them, right? Obviously. If a woman is an attorney and she has to argue, that is leaning on to her masculine side and her masculine energy. A man, being nurturing to his child that maybe fell on the ground, that's him being more nurturing, more loving, that's him leaning towards his feminine energy. So in the sense that we both are symmetrical in a certain way where we're both balanced within our energies. A whole person is balanced within both of those energies within their one space. However, a man is his masculinity level is not the same as a woman within herself, right? So he's going to be majority like a masculine dominant creature, and a woman is supposed to be a nurturing, caring, more softer creature. So when you have these two beings and you try to make it that everybody is equal and we're the exact same thing, you start to gain this mindset that you don't need that vessel. You don't need that because you're technically that, and we're technically the same thing, so we're fine. We don't need that balance. And that's a big issue that's happening right now, because people are starting to try to X out the man out of the home, out of their relationships. We don't need them when we're 50 years old and we want to figure out if we want to be married and have children. We'll figure it out then. But living in that mind state, in that different kind of world of mind frame, the men are the ones who are literally picking the people that they want to be married to and the women that they're going to reproduce with, right? So by the time you get there thinking that everybody is equal, you're going to be alone, because women are outnumbering men, obviously, and you're not going to have any more options. So that's the issue with this kind of mind state.
My hand strength, the typical female's hand strength is 17 times less than a man. You can't manipulate the environment. It's just not possible. Physically not possible. Men can.
Yes, and I understand that, but there are other ways to live. I would not necessarily need the amount of strength that a man has to survive. There are other ways to survive. You will adapt. You learn how to eat different foods. You learn how to plant. You know how to grow different types of foods.
But
as long as
requires time. All the stuff you're talking about requires time, and all the stuff you're talking about also requires protection.
Right.
You need the protection that men have provided in the society. At least they allow this stuff to happen. You'll be out on the prairie planting, and if a man decides he wants to come along and take it, what you gonna do?
You just said that men are gone. You said Thanos said gone.
Okay, we've gone through two different things.
Okay.
But even as this, okay, feminism at its core was not about equality. It was about choice. If a woman wanted to be a housewife, that was supposed to be fine. If she wanted to work, it was fine. Now we have this notion that we're equals. We're not equals. We're not equals in any sense of the imagination. There is a definite distinction. Women need the group. Just like lionesses need the group to survive and hunt. The lion needs that. He can hunt on his own.
True.
Men can manipulate an environment by themselves and live. Women cannot. A singular female can't. And see, the fact
that a woman in a pride or a commune of women can.
To a certain degree. Just like a pride of lionesses can hunt effectively, but they cannot effectively take down the largest prey. Not wildebeest, water buffaloes, hippopotamuses, they can't. It requires the lion. They can't. Giraffe, they can't do it.
But they can take down enough prey to survive.
But they can't keep it. The hyenas take it away.
But this is what I'm saying, is that I understand what you're saying. In terms of in the larger sense.
But still, you're still talking about.
But there have been groups in society that were women-based.
Okay, listen. The reason a singular woman needs a group, and even a group of women, is still insufficient to what men can do. And this is the point. This really is not even shouldn't even be a.
It shouldn't be a conversation. I agree with that. But also, in this group of women, if this is survival mode, right? There's no men that are alive. There's no one there. You guys are all trying to figure this out on your own. Who is to say that you and all of these women around you are going to be living peacefully and calmly and be able to assist each other? Because women are very competitive as well. Women can be very catty as well. And, men the same thing. But we're just saying, if this is survival mode, that you kind of have to figure it out to survive, right? So it's going to be a world of literally only women trying to figure things out. Things can get really aggressive. It's possible that you really are going to be a singular person in this space by yourself. So how are you going to be able to survive and maneuver, especially if you don't know any of these skills of planting, like, like you said, work in the infrastructure and all of these things? How is that going to even be possible?
Conversation, except in this notion that we're trying to make men and women be equal. We are not equal. Mm-mm. If you take away all society, all government, Book of Eli kind of stuff, you're out in the wilderness, figuring out how to hunt and grow, all that other kind of stuff. That's fine. No one, but then a roaming band of men come by. Can you, if they decide they want what you have, including you, what can you do to stop them?
If the women were trained to fight, then would they not be able to fight?
No.
You get what I'm saying? Like, they have been women warriors.
Not effectively. No. Again. And what you say, women warriors. So, I have 3 black belts. And I would tell you, some of the best female fighters pale in comparison to even intermediates. You're physically weaker.
Yeah.
The only way women can survive is by possibly projectile weapons so we have ammunition. But no, you're just out here. Hunter-gatherer society. You know the answer. It just, modern women tend to not like the fact that you are not equal to men physically.
I agree with you. Women are not equal to men physically, but war is not just about physicality. It's about tactic. It's about intelligence. It's about using other things. You can win a war with not just physicality.
Okay, show me where women have been able to survive in a group by themselves. Any time. Where?
I can't quote off. I don't have a book, but there have been female societies.
No, they don't, ma'am. Because what you're saying is, even talking about war. All right, you know what? You got all the strategy in the world. Ooh, you still gotta sleep. And see, this is what I mean. Modern women really have a problem admitting, damn, the reason I can have these modern women's notions is because men have civilized the world in general and have built a structure of government and security to where you can be right where you are, feeling safe to espouse these things.
When a woman is ego-driven, men are more ego-driven, but when a woman is ego-driven and has this masculine, we can do exactly what you can do energy, it's hard to relinquish power. It's hard to say that you're stronger. It's hard to say that I need you for protection. It's hard to say all of these things. However, when you are in touch and in tune with your divine feminine and you are able to be a feminine woman and realize that physically you are the weaker vessel, it doesn't mean that you're not strong at all. It just means that you are strong in different ways. And so I always don't understand when women have this conversation or kind of debate with men about being equal, because to say that you're equal is to say that their mind operates exactly how yours does as well, and that's not the truth. So I don't necessarily understand. We're stronger in many in different ways. Women are strong, right? When it comes to being nurturing, caring, that intuition, certain, there's a lot of things that women have a strong sense of, and men have strong physical strength. They have, their ability to protect us. They are the leaders, So I don't understand why there has to be this competitive nature between a man and a woman when, as she said, we're supposed to be yin and yang. We're supposed to be balanced. But if he's yang and you want to be yang too, or he's yin and you want to be yin too, how can you guys coincide with each other? Unless you don't want to coincide with said man.
If the men stop protecting that society, no more police, no more fire, no more government, none of that. What? You guys are out here.
All right, let me pose a certain argument as well. I also find that a lot of the violence and animosity that exists in the world came from a man.
And?
A lot of matriarchal societies have less war and have more...
No, they don't. That's not true.
Yeah, they do.
No, okay, first of all, most conflict comes as a result of women. Most wars in the
because
past,
of men, though.
Okay, Name me the matriarchal society that you're talking about that existed and thrived. Name me matriarchal society that existed and thrived.
Definitely have, at some point in my life, looked this up, because I was having this argument a couple of years ago, maybe like 3, 4, 5 years ago, with my friend Luz and her husband, and we were discussing this, and we were looking up different examples where we saw that a lot of matriarchal societies, specifically like in Africa.
Societies where?
In Africa, where they were much more communal.
Again, this is that warrior.
They were much more warrior societies, and there was less war.
Ma'am, less war does not mean.
What I find is that
what it comes right down to is less war, no war. Without men, you would not. Without men, you guys would perish quickly. You need men, because even in those matriarchal societies where women, they still had men to manipulate the environment. Why is it so hard for women to just admit that we are different, and we're different for a reason?
I agree that we are different.
But there's an order.
I agree we are different, but I don't think that. What I am disagreeing with you with is that I don't think that we can't not survive without men. At least to the end. Like, for instance, if men were to disappear today, I'll figure out how to survive to the end of my days. Particularly, I'm going to speak for myself. I will end up figuring it out.
Okay,
but
so
for
you say
to say that, men will be able to survive to the end of their days, and women, I don't agree with that necessarily.
As a woman, you say that. What state do you live in?
I live in California.
All right. Have you ever lived in your city where they have had the power out for 2 weeks?
No.
Okay. Have you ever lived in a state where okay, so you've never experienced massive power outage. Have you ever lived in a place where the water was off for a week?
No.
Okay, ma'am. I hate to break it to you. How long do you live without water? Fresh water. How long does a human being live?
I think it's 72 hours without water.
3 minutes without oxygen. 3 days without water. 30 days without food or something. 3 months without food.
Yeah. 30 days without food. I think 3 days without water.
So the point is, you want to see a real live example without all the theory? When you leave, go to Amazon Prime and go look up Bear Grylls. The name is Bear Grylls. Grylls, the island.
Mm-hmm.
Season 2, where he drops a group of men on an island in the middle of the Pacific, and they have to survive for 6 weeks. That's season 1. Season 2, they expanded it. They dropped women on one island, men on another. Go watch what happened to the women. On the end of day 1, men that got from one side of the beach to another, established a beachhead, started clearing out of shelter, was making water, and they're already hunting. Women had pushed in 300 yards into the jungle, gotten lost. Half of the group went this way. And there are times in the production that if the production crew had not stepped in, women would have died. They came out and said that they manipulated the environment to allow women to survive. Man, it's just not your role to live by yourself. You say you could survive. Okay, let's say you can. But all it takes is an injury. Then what all that can-do spirit, what about the other women? You break an ankle. I've broken an ankle. You ever break a bone?
Yes.
Then what? See, men can still get stuff done because even with a broken bone, men can manipulate the environment. Something happens to that roof in the building you're on. Who possesses the strength to patch it, even if you had the materials? You see what I mean?
I see what you're saying. What I find is that even everything that you're saying, a certain amount of knowledge on both ends can a knowledge and a adaptation is what it is.
You can have all of the knowledge in the world. If you cannot lift the items, there's no knowledge. If you cannot create a full...
I think this is crazy. This has been a 25-minute so far conversation of why anything he can do, I can do it better, right? Anything he can do, I can do it the same. And I don't understand why it should take so much examples and breaking it down to just say that yes, we are meant to be here together. Obviously, obviously we are, and as well as in your old, okay, so if you're able to sustain yourself and take care of yourself in your old time, who's going to take care of you and help you out because you literally can't reproduce without a man?
There is, see, that's what I mean. Men have built the world so well to where you ladies don't even realize how it was built. You just use it. And that's the point. We do that because, you know what? Women like comfort. Women like running water. Women like heat and air and light. Because if we can make you comfortable, we can have sex. That's why we did all this. But now the social contract is such that women have basically told men, okay, thank you for civilizing the world in general, clearing, basically ending war, because in my lifetime, there's not been any world wars. There's not been any real wars. Outside of COVID, we have not had any plagues. Infant mortality is, if you got pregnant, you just automatically assume you're going to have a healthy baby instead of losing 30% in childbirth, dying in childbirth. And then we have done such a good job to where women, instead of saying, wow, I have all these freedoms and choices, to the point now women turning to men and saying, well, I can do this without you. And men are looking at you like, are you out of your mind?
What I also think a lot of the things that you're saying in terms of like what led to quote unquote civilization as you're speaking, there have been women influences in that as well.
Name me 5 great female inventors.
Excuse me?
5 great female inventors. I'll give you one, Madame Curie. Oh.
I was going to say Madame Curie.
That's the only one you got.
Well, I think also we don't learn about a lot of these things, and a lot of the times
because women
they do exist, but they do exist.
No, they don't. Like not like women want them to. Because when human beings are left alone, we assort ourselves well. See, when humans are left alone, men tend to gravitate towards science, engineering, technology, and math. Why are there still less than 5% of all college students in science, engineering, technology, and math? Why are less than 5% women?
I think also that that's the way that society gears men towards.
No, ma'am.
Literally from elementary.
You have a choice.
From elementary school. I'm gonna tell you right now. From elementary school, through junior high school, they cater towards men. They gear the men towards those things.
That
is true.
That is not, ma'am. They used to do that when they had home ec and shop. No, in this feminist world, it's a gender neutral curriculum. This. We are not even seeing the effects of the gender neutral world. We are just now barely seeing the effects of a gender neutral world with Gen Z. We're starting to see the effects of it. We're starting to see the.
We are literally just starting to see the effects of it. We still see in this world.
Okay, man.
Girls play with Barbie. Boys play with
Why
cars.
are women not going into the trades? Science. Why are women not going into the very things that help the society run? Women, when left to their own, go into humanities and the arts. They don't go into science.
Because that's what they cater women towards.
That's not what they cater towards.
I'll tell you this right now. The world in 100 years is going to be completely now that there's not a
Are you trying to tell me that women, are you trying to tell me
even in education they cater women towards certain things and they cater men towards certain things?
No.
Sir, are you really sitting here telling me that in school they don't cater people towards one way or the other depending on what their gender is?
Louder. No.
They do, sir.
Don't overtalk me on my show.
Okay.
That's rude.
Sir.
Because I'm going to ask you. Okay. You were raised by your parents. Did you go to public?
I went to public school.
So a public school curriculum. Are you telling me in the public school curriculum, they shifted women in one direction and men another?
When I sat down with my guidance counselor, yes.
No.
When I sat down with my guidance counselor, they're like, hey, Mel, why don't you look into nursing instead of this? I'm like,
guidance counselor. What did your mother and father do?
My mother and father also wanted me to be more feminine and take more feminine routes than what is considered a masculine route.
So now what we're doing, audience, is lacking accountability. Because now you're saying the reason you are where you are is because your parents put you here and the guidance counselor. You're 36?
Mm-hmm.
When you went to college, who paid for it?
The state paid for it.
Uh-huh. And did you get a scholarship?
Technically, yes.
Okay. Did you have any student loans?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Did you get to choose your curriculum?
Yes.
I did choose my curriculum.
Okay, so mommy and daddy had nothing to do with that, neither did the guidance counselor. That was your choice.
No, they did not.
So what are you saying? Oh my gosh. So what are you saying? Oh my gosh. This is the conversation is just going and going and going, and it seems like they're just having like an amicable conversation, and like they're saying things and da da da, and it's tit for tat, but genuinely it's not even funny because of the way that the mind works with a lot of modern women. The way that their mind works, they're simply okay with splitting up the family structure. They're simply okay with saying like, "Hey, other ladies, you don't need a man either, because I don't need a man. You do what you want. In a couple years, society's gonna be so different. We don't even need them. Who cares about them?" And it's like, how will the families be? How is the world gonna be ran? How will the children be created? Like, what's even going on?
No, you got to choose.
Yeah, I did choose.
Okay.
I think what we're failing to understand is even within choice, and you use accountability, right? Even within choice, the choices you have are also based on how you learned.
I don't believe in this predetermined stuff. You have choices.
I do believe that if you learn something to be a way, and you naturally are going to select choices in the way that you have learned. It's psychology.
Why again? I don't believe in predeterminism because it goes to learned helplessness. Women have a choice. You could choose to go to the Mayo Clinic and become an engineer just like so many women that follow my platform. And if I actually allowed you on my YouTube platform, women would shout you down for saying that they don't have choices. They were steered this way.
I never said that they don't have choices.
Okay, but so who's responsible for your outcomes? Basically saying that your choices, they steered you this way. They steer guys into athletics too. But you can still decide to do something else. And when left alone, even outside of this bizarro land you're talking about, women still they are trying to, since you want to talk about it, they are pushing women to get, Title IX is pushing women to the STEM. And women aren't going there. They don't want to do it. They're offering women scholarships that go unfulfilled at the University of Oklahoma. They can't get them in there. They don't want to.
They don't want to do it.
I think, again, what I'm saying is the effects of what's going on now, where even playing with different toys, specifically with different toys, I am now seeing toys that can cater to a female engineer now, like maybe within the last 5 years, 6 years. I didn't have those toys growing up where I could build things and use my curiosity in that way as a girl, because the girls played with girls' toys and the boys played with boys' toys. Regardless of the fact, I'm not saying that the choice doesn't exist, but regardless, it is a learned experience. You make choices from your learned experience.
I'm not going to try to change the way a feminist or a womanist thinks because it's pointless.
Yeah.
The bottom line is this: you wanted a world where you were more equal, you got it. And with equality comes accountability. So you want to be more equal and have a choice? Then if you want to be equal, then here's what you also need to do. Title IX, you're supposed to be equal pay for equal work. You need to be serving equality on the front lines. You need to be equally in the sewers, equally on the trucks, equally on the skyscrapers, equally in the fire department, equally in the police department, without any changing of the rules. You need to be able to do a 200-pound dead man's carry if you want the same money. This world has catered to women's desires and fantasies and made so many women today believe you're special and you're just, I want to say just average, but you're not really producing. Women take from a society. Men give. Give you a case in point. Korea.
Mm-hmm.
Those Korea and Japan. South Korea and Japan. Two civilizations that are dying. Why? Because people under 30 are not mating. They are not having even replacement rates of population. What's happening? The people who are elderly are dying by themselves. It's called kodo koshi. The difference is, when men used to be hermits, not married, bachelors, they would still work to the end of their existence. And if a man became homeless or something else like that, he would take little or no resources from the state. after working for the federal government or the military. Women, on the other hand, demand resources from the state. In Korea, it's going bankrupt trying to provide for women who have chosen to become florists, working in offices. Women are not even making enough money for their economy to supplement their existence. Mm-hmm. So basically, the men of the society who aren't married to you, aren't having sex with you or babies, are still having to provide for you out of their pay through the society. And it's killing us. It's crippling us. And it has happened throughout history. Anytime a society goes Western, anytime a society starts going more towards LGBTQ, open sexuality, things like that, and womanism, feminism, collapse is not far behind. You can't sustain a society without producers.
I don't believe that women cannot be producers.
I didn't say they can, they're just not. I don't care what they can be, I care what they are.
Okay, so, and I think you and I are just going to always defer in that opinion, because what you're basically saying is an absolutist idea that is not necessarily true. Women can be producers and women can produce. Are there certain things that men can be more effective at in terms of what their physicality allows?
Okay, let me stop you right here. Okay, I grant you, women can do it, but if they're not doing it because they have a choice. And it seems to me the only way to get women to produce like you say they can be is to compel them.
I don't necessarily think it's to compel them, but it's to teach both male and females that they are completely capable of doing these things outside of their physicality. You get what I'm saying? So for me personally,
California, it's a donor. California contributes to the federal to the government. You're a donor state. You make more income and you contribute. In the middle of the country, there are not contributors, but they take more. Do you think the average working woman pays in more or takes out more of society?
I don't have that data, and I wouldn't know. But
you take more.
Yes.
That's why societies are That's why societies are crumbling, because when left to your own, even if women possess the intellect and the ability, they don't possess the aptitude or the desire to want to go into the things that really produce. You know, at 36 years old, just like I did at 51 years old, that going to school in engineering was going to give you a higher rate of income than going to school in English.
Correct.
But there are still people who go to English, art, history, dance, this, that, such, and so forth, and they do it in a society, one, because they don't have to worry, because at the end of the day, we have a government safety net, and women can basically rely on the system, but it's breaking. It's broken. You live in California. You can go out into any part of California and see tent cities growing. And you know what's starting to grow more than anything else? It used to be men. Now it's starting to fill up with women.
Yeah.
Right. And there's nothing.
But women are also one of the fastest growing entrepreneurs, one of the fastest growing small business owners, one of the fastest growing in this country.
But are you employed? But you may be growing to small business owners, entrepreneurs, but you're not employing anybody. It's solopreneurs. That's one woman producing. You're not creating jobs for other women.
Wow.
Who creates jobs for women?
Wow.
Men.
Wow.
In this society.
And what society?
In this society, it's set up that way. It's like saying it's
what society
right
are you
now.
talking
We
about?
have to catch up to men right now. That's what we got to do. We got to catch up to men right now. It's like saying. It's like saying that the systemic racism doesn't exist. Right now, women have to catch up to men. Men have been the leaders.
And who's feeding you? And who's feeding? Oh, hold on. Okay.
Gotta catch up to men.
Hold on. Who's feeding and clothing and taking care of you while you're catching up? Who's
I'm feeding and coming and taking care of myself.
That's you. But for the most part, women take more than they're putting in. So that time that you need to catch up, it's on another man's dime. It's on the men of the country's dime.
At this moment in time, I agree with you. There are more women who are taking than are producing, but there are women who are producing, and then there are more women who are producing at a higher rate.
Okay, women who are producing, for the women who are producing, you're not producing enough for your gender. See, men can produce. See what men do. We produce enough for our gender, and to cover you. Women produce enough. The women who do produce tend to produce enough for them. You don't produce enough for you and other women. Women still are relying on men. And it's about time that you women start admitting and acknowledging the fact that you do require us to be on this planet. Because if we didn't have the water running and the roadways fixed and the security and the fire, you couldn't do what it is you do. We provide an environment for you to even have an economy.
But those...
I think this is such a huge conversation. And there's not much, like, obviously I'm going to give you guys my honest point of view and my honest feelings about this video, but when there's thoughts that are going back and forth, those thoughts need to be completed before I can pause the video and say anything. Otherwise it interrupts the conversation. But the reason why this conversation is so essential, I actually just had a conversation like this, I think it was yesterday. The reason why these conversations are so essential is because of the fact that, okay, one, we're talking about the family structure itself, right? We're just talking about, marriage rates, divorce rates, raising kids in a two-parent household, because this woman definitely said within this video that even if she doesn't know if marriage is for her, but if she wants to have a baby, she would just have a baby and raise the baby herself, okay? So we're just raising more broken people. Okay, and then beyond that, this conversation just of literally trying to prove that men exist in that men are necessary and need to exist in our society, when in actuality it's like we need, okay, like how can we not be with each other, right? How can we not coexist without each other? We literally cannot reproduce. Like, it's literally not possible. So it's just going to be a women nation. And then when the women die out, who's going to be there? Because you can't have children by yourself. Right? So I completely understand, like, this is an important conversation to be had, because it's not like this whole womanist and feminist thing is not thought all the way through. It's just genuinely not. And as a woman, I can genuinely say that. It's not thought all the way through, because where will we be if it keeps going where you keep saying how much we don't need them, and we don't need them, and we how are we going to reproduce? How are we going to continue to, again, sustain life? Men have always been around. Like, men have always been here. Like, why would we need to change? Or, I understand, like, in the job market where people wanted to be equal, right? They wanted to be equal. As he said, okay, so you're wanting to be equal, okay. But we still have the women doing certain jobs. They're not venturing off and doing the jobs that are necessary to sustain society that men are doing. So even if it's an all-woman society and there's a whole bunch of women who are not doing these jobs, it's going to force women to do these jobs. But the question is still posed, genuinely, do they want to do this, or will they just be doing this because they have to make society run in a certain manner, or make life sustain itself? But then at the end of the day, we don't have the same strength as a man does. So, but why? I just think it's so insane, because how can women even get into positive relationships, loving relationships, be able to coexist with each other lovingly in a relationship, having children and stuff like that, when you're dealing with a woman who doesn't even think that society even needs you around? Like, that's an insane mindset that definitely needs to be addressed.
Jobs were set for men before women would even enter those jobs.
No. Is that true or false?
Those are historically male-dominated jobs.
See, so audience, see what we're doing? No. Is that true or false?
This is true, but you're speaking about what the effect is without the cause. You're not discussing the cause. This is a male-dominated thing. You think the woman can't make an education system? You think a woman can't fix a road? You think a woman can't build a house?
No. Why can't women like yourself acknowledge the fact before you move the goalpost?
What I'm saying is that, yes, right now, men do a lot of those things. Can women do those things? Yes. Women can do those things.
Why? Okay, men, but are they?
But now, if we lived in a society where it wasn't expected for women to do certain things and men to do certain things, then these roles would not be so specific.
Are they?
They are not at this time. But how about 50 years down the line?
Who's going to feed and clothing? Who's going to feed clothing? Who's going to take up that cost while you're doing it? We're equals, right?
Who's going to what?
Who's gonna foot the bill while y'all are getting caught up? Men?
You foot your own bill.
No. While women are okay, if you are behind as a gender, essentially we're equal. If you need 50 years to get caught up, that means 50 years of water, sewage, police, fire, all these government and economy that's created and run by men. Fine. Then you, at 50 years, you're going to owe 50 years worth of input. So that means in 50 years, men are going to be able to do what? Sit back and say, okay, now women, you do it. We're going to put our feet up and we're going to catch up with y'all.
I mean, I think what you're doing, you're making the argument very extreme. And I think at some point,
it very real.
No, I think for me personally, because what you're basically saying is like, okay, well, y'all catch up so then we can switch roles, but not necessarily. I feel like there's very specific gender roles in society. There's very specific gender roles in society, in American society, and because of this idea that exists that women are not doing things or women cannot.
What society are you talking about that exists?
I'm speaking about American society. I'm talking about Western civilization.
Where are women these great producers? Where?
Women can be these producers as
education
changes, as the gender roles are not as strict.
Where? I keep asking you where, and every time I ask you where or something,
there are many women in this. There are women in America who are great producers.
Stop, please, man. You keep talking about potential. I'm talking about reality. I don't want to talk about potential. I want to talk about in reality. In reality, where are women doing this? I don't even need a country. Give me a state. Give me a township. Give me a place where women are doing these things. Where?
I find that women are more producers in metropolitan areas. So you go to New York City, you go to Los Angeles, you go to Atlanta. That's where you find most
dominates, and the infrastructure is still run by men.
Their infrastructure has been run by men for years. That's not going to change overnight.
Okay, this is going nowhere. So this is what I want everybody to understand. This is the ultimate problem with feminism and womanism. It just gets to a point to where it becomes a circular Ouroboros argument.
Yeah.
It is because it is. But then what are you doing? Well, I can't because I was. Bottom line.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it is changing. It is changing. And you see with Gen Z very clearly.
My audience. You're not going to talk over me. I'm going to talk to my audience. If you talk over me, I'll bid you a good night. Okay, I'm talking to my audience. This is a circular argument. You see what I kept trying to do? It keeps going back to, well, women are it's never their responsibility. School geared me this way, society geared me this way, but in my mind, we can do it. We can do it. We can do it. All right, then do it. Well, we need time. All right. Who's responsible to pay for that time? If you're on your own, you're taking it from a society. And you're taking it from the men and telling men by the same consequence that we're equals when you're taking more. This can't work. This is why Rome fell, Greece fell, and other civilizations where this stuff started happening. Do your history. When womanism, feminism crept in, the fall was not far. It's unsustainable. It's not personal, ma'am. It's not personal.
No, I'm not saying it's personal. I personally would have to do more research to come to that conclusion.
That's why every time I ask you, where was this civilization where women were able, because in Rome, women got the power, the right to vote. They had money, but it fell. And the thing is, you're looking at a society where men are doing everything that men are doing, and you're basically saying that women, if given a chance, can do the same thing. Okay, you have all the opportunity. There's nothing stopping women. And when given a choice, women still, like human beings do, sort themselves into things that women like to do. Work at the humanities, government. Women tend to go for softer jobs. Men go for more dangerous jobs.
More women do that in our society. More women are leaning towards opening.
Okay,
what I'm saying is that it is gradually changing.
Why do you keep saying our society?
Right.
Because this is the society that we live in. I can only discuss things in the society that I live in. This is the society that I'm more familiar with. So when I say this society, I'm speaking about where I live. I live in America. I'm talking about American society in general. So that's why I keep on saying this society. But what I'm saying also is that women are slowly but surely doing more things that are not historically women jobs. There are more women engineers. There are more women scientists.
There are. They're not. That's the thing. There are not.
You're saying there are not more women engineers, more women scientists, more women CEOs, more women things in this day and age than there were 20 years ago?
No, they are not. Jesus Christ, ma'am. They're not. Colleges and universities are offering scholarships and incentives to get more women into STEM. What aren't you hearing?
I heard you, sir.
But they're not doing it.
Okay, and again, what I'm saying is that the change is coming. The change, more women are gearing towards that than they have in the past, is what I'm saying. And again, what I said before is that change isn't going to happen overnight.
So this is what women tend to do. More women are gearing toward. Okay, see, men have a sense of
why. But why are you so okay with this change? Is my question. Why are you so okay with this change? As a woman, why are you so okay with this change? To things that like I understand when it comes to like, women who wanted to be able to, vote and stuff like that and voice their opinions in the society that they live in. Obviously like certain things like that I completely understand. But there's a line, right? There's a point when you're obviously like trying to be able to be considered like a citizen, right? And then there's a point that you're trying to X out the opposite sex out of your society, and that's what I feel like is starting to happen with this movement. And I just don't understand it, and I don't understand why you would want to replace, literally take women and put them in the jobs that men are in. So where, like, how? And how are you so sure that this is going to be a positive change for society, especially if it's something that has not been done? And speaking of this lifestyle in the West of like, oh yeah, like this is like a positive like way of things, and like this is how things are going on in the West, and like this is the great change in the West, and it's like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? I understand that, like, in the West, there's a lot of advance in technology and certain things in certain ways and in certain manners. However, when it comes to a lifestyle and family structure, all the other countries got it. They know what's up. They know how things are supposed to be in a home. They know that there's somebody has to be the leader, and we need men. We need men to lead. We need men for their protection. We need men for guidance, for their strength, for their wisdom, for the things that they can impart into our society. We need them, as well as obviously men do need us when it comes to reproduction, as well as when it comes to being there to fend for their seed and their children, and our nature that we can give and what we can impart. So, and the children need both parents. They need their father and they need their mother. So I just don't understand this whole empowerment of trying to prove this point of not needing somebody in society who is so extremely necessary. I don't get it.
We have to live in reality. This slow theoretical progression you're talking about, women don't. How about this, man? Women just don't typically want to go into science, engineering, technology, and math. No. It's not because they don't have the brain power. They just don't like the jobs. They don't like the environment.
I think that's society's fault.
You're out of your French toast mind.
I don't.
No, okay, it's always no. That's bullshit. That's bullshit, because at this point, then women are children. Women are children in your scenario. They're not accountable for anything.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if you are learned, and if society gears gender roles as strict as it has in this society that we live in.
This is a disease. It is society's fault that women are choosing not to go into careers that sustain society.
Because your choices are an effect of your learned experience.
No. You're lucky you're cute.
And that sucks that he even had to. He tried to give her space to talk. He tried to figure out where her mind was at. He tried to, figure her sense of, all of these things. And I just think it's crazy because, like I said before, if you have a woman who feels this way and who thinks this way and thinks that you don't even matter that much to society because we're the same. I could do the same thing like you. Like, yeah, there's gonna be some women who are in your position and taking your spot and working the same jobs as you do. We're equal. We're the same. How can you get a woman in this? How can you get this kind of woman in a relationship and do anything for her that's gonna make her happy? You cannot. How is that possible? How is that a possibility? Because it's gonna be like either you jump on this ship or you keep it pushing. Either you rock to my boat or you're gonna have to do your own thing over there. That's how it's gonna be. It's a combative way of thinking. It's a combative relationship, and it's not peaceful. It's not calm. It's not a balance of energy. This is like two men arguing with each other. Am I wrong? Let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know you guys' opinions in the comment section down below. I'm really, really interested. I just had this conversation before, and I didn't expect this conversation to be anything like this. But I want to know what you guys genuinely think and how you guys genuinely feel about this conversation. As well as I want you guys to go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. I drop a video every single day. If you hit the notification bell, you will be notified. As well as follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is RIVAH_JORDON. I love you guys so much. Mwah. I will see you guys in the next video.